Go ahead. Here, you got the microphone right behind you.
Thank you very much. I first want to say I respect you, and I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you.
I've been praying for you, but
I believe in prayer, so I appreciate that.
I have an urgent need. Unemployment and homelessness, a very small vehicle for my family and I to live in. We need urgent, and housing authorities have 2 years waiting lists, and we need something more than the vehicle and the parks to go to. We need our own kitchen and our own bathroom. Please help.
Well, listen, what's your name? What's your name?
It's Henrietta Hughes.
Okay, Ms. Hughes, well, we're going to do everything we can to help you, but there are a lot of people like you, and we're going to do everything we can. All right, but I'll have my staff talk to you after this, after the town hall. All right?
What happened? Pretty much, in a nutshell, when we were recovering from the recession of 2008, 2009, my industry began to feel the effects, the trickle-down effects of the recession, you know, in the later years, like around 2010, 2011. I was a union steam fitter out of Local 21, Peekskill, New York. I was a low man on the totem pole. I ended up getting laid off when they were doing massive job cuts. While I was collecting unemployment, I was doing odds and end jobs. I took a job with a non-union shop while I was collecting unemployment benefits. Now, at the time, I was married with my son was 3, going on 4 at the time, and my wife hadn't worked in over 7 years. She was a stay-at-home mom. A period of time, it turned out that my wife was having an affair behind my back. And when I found out that she was having an affair and I confronted her, she pretty much told me, you know, I want a divorce. The guy that I'm with, you know, is Mr. Moneybags. He can provide for me in ways that you can't. So I'm going to go be with him and you can go fuck yourself. And going through the divorce process, not only did I have to pay my lawyer, but everything that my wife got her hands on that I had, which, you know, was a lot, she got a hold of. After everything was all said and done, I looked at what I had left, and I was hit with, you know, the surprise that in one lump sum payment, I had to pay her 11 months worth of child support in one lump sum payment right away, which pretty much was everything else I was left with. So I was pretty much taken for everything. After everything was all said and done, here I am, completely unemployed, divorced, don't have custody of my son, and my bank account is reflecting about $278, and I have no place to live. You know, so for about a year, I was couch surfing, you know, from friend's house to friend's house. This guy's going to help me out for a week. This guy's going to help me out for 2 weeks, whatever. Eventually, I was just I had nowhere to go. I had not another place where I can sleep, not a dime in my bank account, and not a single job coming in. You know, I mean, I'm from upstate, you know, up in the suburbs, up in Rockland County, with no place to go. And the police up there in those, you know, small little ritzy towns, you know, they don't want vagrants wandering their streets at 3 o'clock in the morning. So the police were pretty much like, you know, you got to get someplace to go or we're going to give you someplace to go. You know, we can very easily consider your vagrancy disorderly conduct and we'll just throw your ass in jail. You know, we don't care that you're a veteran. We don't care, you know, what you did or whatever. You know, you're on the streets, you know, of this, you know, small town, you know, that's full of, you know, rich people. They're not going to be too happy. So you better get gone. So I took what little bit of money I had left and I got on a bus and I came down here to the city where homelessness is, you know, rampant and, you know, somewhat accepted. You know, I mean, it's an urban environment. It's going to happen, you know, and this is where I've been ever since. You know, in the course of a day, people walking past you, I'll get, screamed, get a fucking job, you lazy bum, 100 times an hour, And it's like, it's like I wish I can like stop someone and just be like, okay, you're gonna let me come to your apartment and take a shower, you're gonna let me borrow a set of clothes so I can get in, so I can like actually do an interview and be presentable.
I would like you to imagine the following scenario, in where you have a 2-year-old child, you've lost your job, there's no money coming in, you've been forced to leave your residence, and I'd like to ask you the following questions. How would you take care of your child? You have no place to live, you're homeless. What are the first steps you would do? And would you trust the government in a situation like this? Would you hope for government intervention, that perhaps they would help you in this situation?
In terms of the government, no, I wouldn't trust the government because I've seen in the past they don't help Americans poor out very much. I would try to get as much out of them as I could, but I wouldn't rely on them necessarily.
In terms of the government, I don't necessarily trust the government fully, but I would try to rely on them as much as possible because I know they can help. I know they can't do everything, so I can't rely on them 100%, but I would expect them to try to help me in some way and others.
I mean, I have to go out and find a job, go job hunting day in and day out. Just carry my kid along with me, like along my side, unless I have somewhere to keep him, someone I know at a homeless shelter or something. If I get him in there to sleep at least. I don't really need somewhere to sleep or stay per se, but I need somewhere for my child.
I would try my best to immediately find a job. In terms of my living situation, I would try to live with either a family member or a friend, and if no one can take us in, try to get into a homeless shelter as soon as possible. In terms of my child, it would be very difficult, but I would try to get them into some sort of daycare system while I work.
I obviously wouldn't get up, wouldn't stop until I find a job of some sort, no matter how low income it is or what it is. Work endless hours to make up money. Somehow find a way to get my kid through the school system, somehow, some way. I just never really give up. You just gotta keep going. You can't feel bad for yourself, or else it's just gonna get worse.
In New York City, 52,615 people a night reside in shelters since 2013. And in regards to child homelessness, 22,712 children are forced to seek shelter each night in January. Patrick Markey of the Coalition for the Homeless commented on the rising numbers and said, "Not since the grim days of the Great Depression has New York City had 20,000 children sleeping homeless each night. There are currently enough homeless kids in the city to fill Madison Square Garden and still leave a few thousands for the Barclays Center. The average rent in the city has increased by almost 9% over the past decade, while pay scales have dropped by about 7% due to circumstances of inflation. Mayor de Blasio has promised to create 200,000 new affordable homes, but his plan lacks specifics on how he'll do it or how he'd pay for it."
The city shelters, first of all, are horrible. You go into the shelter system, you can't work. You're not allowed to have a job. I've had 4 jobs. I've been hired for 4 jobs in the time that I've been homeless on the streets of New York. I've been fired from all 4 of those jobs because of poor hygiene, the inability to be presentable. This is a city of, glitz and glamour and, people with money, people with extensive wardrobes and, people that are, all about fashion and, how they look. And it's, that's the competition that I'm up against in the position that I am. So like I'm already, I've been in this position for a while now and I've had a lot of different experiences. And I've gotten to the point where I've absolutely given it my all and more. I'm not saying that I've completely given up, but it's like I've really, I've to a degree stopped trying because like I'm just tired of exerting all of my energy.
I don't think that there will be some kind of a permanent solution for homelessness. It is a work in progress. It is something that you always keep at it, and every few decades, the new policies, new systems have to come in place because the circumstances that lead people to become homeless change. What drove people to become homeless 20 years ago is not the same thing what drives people today for homelessness. So depending on the circumstances, how the society has evolved, what are the major challenges that a particular society or city is facing at the moment, we have to draft or create ways of addressing the homelessness. I think both, not just the government, but also the civil society has a responsibility in providing some kind of access to shelter, or to providing some kind of structures where this homelessness, particularly of children, is being addressed. No solution will be permanent solution. They all will be temporary simply because the circumstances of homelessness respond to evolving circumstances, evolving situations. My own suggestion is, I don't think that homelessness can be addressed as a large-scale, one-size-fits-all policy. And that's why government intervention is not fruitful in many ways. However, civil society can address community-based solutions. In each small community, how can you address this particular thing? So, any solution, this is my personal position, that answer to this homelessness issue, whether it's children's homelessness or adult homelessness, must be community-based and in smaller communities. And that's where I think civil society ought to play a significant role, of course, with some assistance from the government as well, especially in terms of finances and all. Government should not be in the business of putting in place structures. Those structures should be left to the civil society to do, because then they will respond to the needs of a particular community.
Most shelters believe that they are basically providing an exit plan. By providing medicals, childcare, running pantries, and even intensive care, homelessness will never stop. Today, many motels and hotels are being turned into shelters, but what these shelters want is that Mayor de Blasio to bring back Section A, because this plan can be kept for life. Homelessness and shelters will never stop, but we have to give them the means of getting back into the community. Mayor, you've heard the few people recorded in this film, and this is all true and all first-hand information. Try helping homeless people get back to normality and making New York City a city of achievable dreams. Thank you.